I was starting to work in television, and this booklet was published called Red Channels, which was a compilation of names. And if you were in Red Channels, you were automatically blacklisted. I was in there. There were about 8 listings, I think.
You didn't have to do anything to get blacklisted. J. Edward Bromberg was a veteran character actor who had been blacklisted, and the committee kept calling him back. And he had a heart attack in London. And at his memorial, I said that I thought the Un-American Activities Committee had killed him, that the pressure on him had been too much for his heart, and it's something that I believe today. And the next day, I was blacklisted. I was in Red Channels, and I didn't work again in television and in film for 12 years.
I went to my first union meeting. They were talking about people who had been blacklisted. Then they started to talk about Lee Grant. And I stood up. And I said, I don't understand why this is happening to Lee Grant, but Lee is such a wonderful actress. And I felt somebody pulling on my arm, and they pulled me down and sat me on my chair, and there was a person beside me, and the person said, "Are you crazy? You are nuts. Shut up. Do you want to be in Red Channels?" The next week I was.
He was put on notice. In that morning's trades, there was an account of his private testimony before the committee.
He met with Darryl Zanuck shortly after he read about himself in the Hollywood Reporter, and Zanuck said, "Why the hell don't you name names?" And Kazan said, "They're my friends." And Darryl Zanuck said, "Who are you trying to protect? You gotta protect yourself. Go ahead and name names." And Kazan said that he didn't want to, but I think he went out of that meeting with Zanuck very, very upset, because he realized that Zanuck wanted him to name names. He wasn't saying that he wouldn't have a contract at 20th if he didn't name names, but I think that certainly entered into his head.
An Oscar was because Kazan had refused to name names when he had been called by the committee. It's a warning shot across the bow that you screw with us and you could get yourself in a lot of trouble. You could lose your job. We won't give you any awards. We can slam you down a lot harder than you can slam us down.
They had all the names. They wanted your name. That was what was important. They wanted to be able to say, we have Elia Kazan on our side.
They had been named before, or whether this would affect them in terms of the blacklist. What mattered was that he was validating the committee by naming names and cooperating with them. He was saying, you have a right to do this. I am on your side. Go ahead, do more of it.
Many who were watching the play were themselves blacklisted. Many more knew someone whose career was ruined by it. They watched as Abigail took hold of the court's imagination, as the devil was conjured at will. They shared the dread of the accused, understood what it meant when the only way to prove one's innocence was to charge another with witchcraft.
We're going to get the answer to that question if we have to stay here for a week. Are you a member of the Communist Party? Or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
This is the House Committee on Un-American Activities, known as HUAC, hunting for communists in the Hollywood film industry. Before Joe McCarthy was even on the scene, it meant to be caught in the web of a witch hunt. There were hundreds of men and women like Bartley Crumb who saw their careers and lives destroyed because of their beliefs and associations, and thousands more who lived in mortal fear that Joe McCarthy would be targeting them.
But they say, oh, it's all right to uncover them, but don't get rough doing it, McCarthy.
This crummy, thug-like dictator, and people were scared.
The local newspaper picked up the story, and the rest, as they say, is history.
McCarthy's game, the enemy is inside us. It's in our State Department. These are people who want the other side to win. They are disloyal. I, Joe McCarthy, know who these people are. I have names, I have lists, I will get them out.
Before long, a new word was coined, which became a part of the language, McCarthyism. It's still used today, synonymous with mudslinging and reckless accusation. And of course, the press was his accomplice.
Quote this verbatim as the legal bulwark of the Communist Party.
Those of us in the press, kept waiting there thinking, when is Welsh going to do something, for God's sakes? And then, like a leopard, he pounced at just the most opportune moment.
Let us not assassinate this lad further, Senator. You've done enough. Have you no sense of decency, sir? At long last, have you left no sense of decency?
We immediately knew, sitting there, that that was the critical moment of the entire McCarthy career.
What Ed Murrow began, Joe Welch finished. The Boston attorney exposed McCarthy for the bully he was, and he did it on national television in full view of tens of millions of people.
McCarthy actually put his hands up in the air like this. What have I done? What have I done? He couldn't quite understand how his performance had affected his popularity.